What's up, everyone? So it's been a minute since I've made any type of video. The main reason for that is that I wasn't getting any views with IGTV. I don't know what happened, but I started asking people, my views went from like 500 to like 300 to 200. I started asking followers, like, are you seeing my videos that I post? And for whatever reason, no one was seeing my IGTVs besides like a few people, like people that like literally just go to my profile, or maybe a few select people would have them show up in their feed. So I've been kind of against it. I want to create content that people can actually see, and if that's done through writing and people reading it, then I'm totally happy with that, even though I love speaking. But I thought I'd just make this video just to voice out some of the key themes, or just to put a little voice behind the text, because there hasn't been much lately, just to show my face and talk a little bit. So first of all, I know I've made posts about this, but I want to talk about the importance of this January Capricorn season. We're going into 2020 with a eclipse coming up the day after Christmas, so Thursday, in Capricorn, and it's just really setting the tone for this, the most important astrological phenomenon, maybe in the last 30-40 years. I'm not sure what exact number it is for that, but the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Saturn and Pluto are two outer planets that move very slowly, right? They move only a few degrees each year, so it takes a long time for them to be in a position, which is a conjunction, meaning that if I think it's mid-January, I forget the exact date when it's complete, but it's basically like getting there right now. If you were to look exactly at Saturn from Earth, Pluto would be right behind it from our vantage point. And this means that the planets are working together, and they're in Capricorn, which is already a very karmic, fate-worthy sign. And there's a writer that I've talked about a lot, Richard Tarnas, who's a Harvard historian, who showed how at times of Saturn-Pluto conjunctions, they're classically times of crisis, of societal crisis, because these outer planets affect society. They're more about like the zeitgeist and the widespread, right? While the inner planets, like the sun, moon, ascendant, Venus, Mars, and all that, that's more personal. It's more based on you. So he's shown like historical evidence of the types of current events, for example, or historical occurrences that happen during those times. And some examples could be like a real crisis with migration, and like a refugee crisis, more like things getting worse potentially before they get better. Very, very dark, somber times are coming when Saturn and Pluto are coming together. And I feel like the world's energy has kind of been building up to this year and to this decade, because there has to be a crash before something can be reborn. And that's really what Saturn and Pluto does, because Saturn it's like it can represent structures that marginalize people. Sorry, it's kind of a loud road I'm walking onto in LA at my grandparents' house close to UCLA, right over here. But yeah, so like it's times where like a lot of people feel marginalized. We're like very like dominant, like, kind of, I think of like an old gray-haired like man, like just like very, very bad, like dictators is an example of one, right? Dictatorships, famines, all these types of patriarchy. That's the word I was looking for. The patriarchy dominates. But with a lot of other astrological occurrences, mainly the chart of the USA, so we also do horary charts for countries, it's all lining up for what looks like a very interesting decade of transformation. And the reason for that, there's a lot of the outer planets, such as Pluto is finally having its first return, because it takes so long for Pluto to make a full return, since the inception of the USA. And that typically will mean like the death, rebirth, and transformation of like a large part of what is America today. And there's just so many other, like I found an article that really explains the whole decade in depth if anyone's interested. But there's so much going on that points to like this new world coming, and just the end of these structures that have been pulling us down. Like we see in the media now how it's just becoming more and more evident that change is coming. And I think as more and more of these older people who are trying to control everything die, like they'll be replaced by you know, the people of my age, the people of ages older than me who are way more humanitarian as a whole. I mean, yeah, obviously, like I'm speaking mainly about like what I see and what's in front of me, but I travel quite a bit and I see how people are. I see the generational charts, and it seems like once these people start dying off, and the people who are like, I guess, too young to be in power, but that's even seems like it's changing too. If you look at like New Zealand and some of the people running for president, like the trend seems to be younger and younger. Big changes are coming. So with that said, and it's so interesting because all of the people that have gotten current astrology reports from me as of recent have had their like either sun or moon or Mars like in that like I would say like 18 to 25, around that, maybe maybe like 17 and 25 roughly, Capricorn zone, or also Libra, because Cancer, because Cancer is the opposite sign. And that's going to be a really, really intense year for people that have any personal planets there, because you're gonna be right in the thick of it. And also the same can be said about Libra and Aries, because those would have a square. So if you have any of those, you can check if you have planets in those degrees, because that will just make this year a very transformational but potentially very difficult one, with a lot of potential isolation, crises, run-ins, all that stuff. It really depends on the individual chart. So for anyone that has that, I definitely say to get a reading with me if you've had your birth chart done before. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Yeah, it's just a really dense, it'll be a very dense time. I'm not saying things are just going to get better right away, but it's like the fate, like the fate, the societal global fate. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's fated, and this will be a year where that plays a large role, and where there's a lot of stuff that's meant to happen that happens, forces that seem to be undeniable that come into play. And you have to remember that this is happening for dark and light. So even some stuff that's dark and that's not so beautiful, so pleasant, some of that stuff is meant to happen so new life can emerge. There's always an interplay, which can be hard for people to understand, between dark and light. So aside from that, let's see, I have a few minutes left before I have to hit the limit of 10 minutes. Let's see, that's a cool car. Yeah, just really balance yourself during this Capricorn season. I think it's like January 10th or something, like where it really, it's like something around that week, like second week of the year. So it's very important, like leading up to that, to be in a good position, whatever that means for you, to be in your best, like physical, spiritual, emotional place, because it can bring the Saturn Pluto can bring a lot of triggers. It can bring a lot of triggers, and can make things a lot more difficult. And it's going to be a theme astrologically for the entire year 2020, because it goes retrograde back and forth until pretty much the end of the year. So I was looking at it a few days ago. I remember that, obviously January is a very, very big hot spot, and I believe it was August or September, around that time, that it comes that Pluto and Saturn come very, very close to each other again. But the most intense will be in January, because that's really when they are together, just stuck together. So yeah, even right now, it's like leading up to that is very, very intense and dense energy. So I'll leave it there. I just wanted to talk about this. I don't know how many people will see this video, because it gets hidden for whatever reason, or maybe it won't get hidden. Maybe I'll actually have people that see it. Anyways, I wish everyone a happy holiday season and New Year's, and I'm here for readings as usual. I have a little break from school, so it's a great time to get those done, especially going into the new year. Everyone wants to, make New Year's resolutions. Well, what a better way than getting an astrology reading where I can break down some of the karmic themes that could be key for you to work on, not just this year, but in your entire life. All right, that's about it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.